Picture yourself in this situation. When you are young, you come across with the idea of mixing Mario and Sonic together. And all of a sudden the main pirates come and decides to immerse both of these characters together in one scene. So what does this lead to the end? It's Somari for ya. How could something amazing like this can happen to this world? It's just mind-blowing. I mean, this would have been 80s and 90s 8-years-old kids' imagination. But of course, Taiwanese have to granted this kid's wish. The game was essentially a brainchild from Hummer Team, which was released in 1994 under the name Somari Team. If you're not familiar with Hummer Team, they are famously known for making some of the demakes of the Street Fighter series, some decent works like Aladdin, which is based on the Super Nintendo version, and Super Mario demake and Kart Fighter. So there was no exception. Sonic the Hedgehog, which was Sega's brainchild, had to get the same treatment from Hummer Team as well. But to be honest, it's not half bad actually. I mean, granted, the game is inferior from the 16-bit counterpart, and the idea behind mixing Mario and Sonic seems very absurd, but the overall gameplay-wise, it's pretty forgivable considering the fact that this is the 8-bit demake of the 16-bit counterpart. Let's start out with the controls. Well, one thing for sure is that it's pretty choppy, but at the same time, it's pretty simplistic. Much like the original 16-bit counterpart, both action buttons A and B button allows you to jump. However, in terms of the jumping momentum, as soon as Somari jumps, he loses the momentum immensely. So oftentimes, in order to get a better momentum in terms of the jumping, the players have to give themselves a little bit of running distance in order to give Somari a much better jumping ability. By pressing down an action button, you can also do the spin dash, which I was pleasantly surprised that Hummer Team actually included this move as well. As for the item-wise, surprisingly, every Sonic the Hedgehog aspect of the items are here. You got yourself the coin boxes and the extra hit points. Not to mention, you also got yourself the invincibility as well, which I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of details that Hummer Team actually put in terms of the try to replicate the Sonic the Hedgehog elements. But oftentimes, control kind of feels slippery. Oftentimes, if I let go of myself with the D-pad, Somari doesn't stop right away. He kind of moves forward. So it's kind of a troublesome, especially if you don't want to get hit by the enemies. Like oftentimes, you obviously get hit by the enemies by complete accident, which is unintentionally though. Some of the aspects are also complete BS as well. So let's say if I would collect like, I don't know, more than 10 coins for sure, but if I get hit by the enemies by once, you lose all the coins except for, the only thing you get is 3 coins only. But hey, since this is the due to the NES's limitation in terms of the graphical enhancement, it's forgivable, but come on though, I think it's still pretty harsh. Sometimes the level itself can be beginner's trapped as well. Like for instance, in this pit, like there's no way out, and I don't really have enough distance for me to get a better momentum. And so the only thing I can do now is just commit suicide until the rings are gone. These minor changes could have been a quick fix before they could release it, but I guess later versions with the likes of the Sonic the Hedgehog version, hacked version wise, it seems like they actually fixed some of the level issues later on. The graphical aspect wise, it resembles, for the most part, kind of resembles to the original Sonic the Hedgehog levels in the classic 8-bit form. But I still kind of found it funny that the Mario is the main protagonist in the Sonic world. I mean, who would have thought? I bet Sega fans right now, by seeing this game, they're probably going by this right now. As for the music-wise, it's mediocre at its best. For the 8-bit rendition of the 16-bit port-wise, it's not too bad either. Sure, there could be more loops can occur compared to the Sega Genesis version, but it sure does represent some of the somewhat 8-bit tune of Sonic theme as a whole. Even though it's way inferior to the original 16-bit goodness, but to be honest, it's not awful either. Granted, the controls are pretty awkward, and I can't imagine how Sega fans will feel when they grab the NES controller to play Sonic the Hedgehog games in general. But honestly, if you can get used to it with its the crap factor, it's not half bad either, and you'll get used to it eventually. Visually, it's forgivable and playable. And I love the idea about the fact that you get to play it as the insane creature that's a mixture of Italian plumber and the blue hedgehog. But if this is not a thing for you, then there are plenty of other versions that might be suitable for you. Yeah, well, just like the tradition of the bootleggers, this was one of those titles where it also had some of the many alternative versions and alternative titles of the exact same game, whether it's the hacked version or the same game but like just with the title screen hack and so on. Here are some few examples. We got the regular Sonic the Hedgehog for the NES. Sonic and Knuckles 5, Sonic 3D Blast 6, which has nothing to do with the actual Sonic 3D Blast for the Sega Genesis and Sega Dreamcast, bizarre crappy sprite work under the name of Family Kid, and interestingly the game under the name The Hummer, which is actually based on the Hummer team's mascot, and it's only available on the Super New Year 15-in-1 cartridge, and also one of their plug-and-play console called Somari 60-in-1. And finally, we got the game Just Doraemon, which is essentially the ROM hack of Somari with some of the additional the level changes with the crappy sound effects and stealing most of the graphics from the other games, just like the Wiking's tradition. But also, what is Nobita doing in Doraemon's mouth? But overall, Somari is probably one of the most well-known versions out there, and even though it got pretty rare nowadays, in terms of the bootleg games community and fanbase-wise, Somari is notorious, but at the same time beloved by everyone among the 8-bit Famicom pirated games fan as well. The idea behind Somari is absurd as a whole, but yet at the same time, that's the whole charm about it. I highly recommend if you ever come across with this game by any chance, go for it. You will probably love with this absurd idea. That's all it is for today. This is Kevinhwsohn. Thanks for watching.